Hey folks, the land of Termina seen in Majora's Mask is possibly the most unique and strange world in the Zelda series. Familiar faces can be found here, but with entirely new personalities behind them. It's an uncanny world at times, and often leaves you wondering if any of this is real. Who are the fascinating folks of this land, and what tales do they have to tell? Welcome back to the lore of Zelda's NPCs. In this series, we're taking a look at the stories and lore behind the most interesting and mysterious characters found across the Zelda series. We've covered Ocarina of Time already across 2 parts, so today we're making the move to the intensely mysterious Majora's Mask, a game that has a lot of characters. Now, these videos take a lot of time and effort to produce, so I wandered down to the local market to find some help for this one, but I got distracted and ended up coming home with magic beans. I'm not sure they'll help to make a video, but let's see. Come on, do something.
Hey, I'm Little Bean Green, and I cover a wide range of Zelda topics from lore, theories, character analyses, retrospectives, to discussions around the games, as well as broader connections between Zelda and real-world history, mythology, philosophy, science, etc.
Without further ado, folks, be sure to go and grab yourself a delicious snack and drink for the video. If you send them to me on my socials linked below, I'll feature your submissions right here. Subscribe if you're new and drop a cheeky wee like down below. And let's now explore the lore of Majora's Mask's NPCs. Let's start this titan of a video by picking up exactly where we left off. Following the events of Ocarina of Time, Link sets off on a new quest, one to find his fairy companion Navi, who got up and left after the hero just saved the kingdom. However, the hero isn't the only character to go on an adventure following Ocarina of Time. The Happy Mask Salesman also left to venture through the woods in search of new masks following the events of Ocarina of Time. The man is obsessed with masks and their unique histories, cultures, and abilities. This was briefly seen in the previous game, but the character would soon become something so entirely different. Link first meets the Happy Mask Salesman in Majora's Mask beneath the clock tower, after being turned into a Deku scrub by the mask-controlled Skull Kid. Mysteriously, he introduces himself to Link by telling them that he's been watching him, and that he knows a way to return him back to his true self. The catch? Link must retrieve the salesman's stolen mask, the very same one currently in possession of the Skull Kid. Interestingly, the salesman notes that this must be done within 3 days before he departs Termina, which is odd because if you know how the story goes, Termina is destined for doom in 3 days. The moon is going to crash. It's also odd that he says he's been watching Link. The hero travelled through the Lost Woods and in unexplainable fashion ended up here. So where was he watching from and why was he following Link? Who really is the Happy Mask Salesman? Link confronts the Skull Kid just hours before the moon was set to crash into Termina. He manages to retrieve his stolen Ocarina of Time and plays the Song of Time, taking him back to the beginning of the game's 3-day cycle, the day he met the salesman. Link returns to him and is taught the Song of Healing, a melody which heals troubled spirits, turning their soul into a mask. This lifted the Deku curse off of Link, giving him the Deku mask and his true form back. The Happy Mask Salesman, however, is not happy with Link. He did not retrieve the mask for him, and it upsets the salesman greatly. Crashing out and yelling at Link what he went through in order to obtain that mask, further explaining that it's no ordinary mask and contains great power which cannot be in the wrong hands. He begs Link to recover it for him, and this sets off the adventure of Majora's Mask. These are Link's only encounters with him up until the very end of the game. He sort of just disappears after this, nowhere to be seen in Clocktown or where we originally met him. Gone, as if he literally vanished. The events of the game take place. A few things happen, and some enemies are slayed, which takes us to the only other encounter with the Happy Mask Salesman. This comes after Link defeats Majora, the powerful being within the mask, which results in Link being able to return Majora's mask to the Salesman. They stand out in Termina Field alongside the now conscious Skull Kid, Tattle, and Tail. The evil within the mask appears to have left it now, and somewhat oddly, the Happy Mask Salesman takes his leave quite quickly. He claims he's in the midst of travel and must be on his way, but prior to this, he said he was watching Link. Interesting, isn't it? After closing remarks, he walks off. That is the lore of the Salesman in this game, but that cannot be all there is to the man. He leaves with too many questions unanswered. Where did he watch Link from in the beginning? Why was he watching Link? Where did he go for the entirety of the adventure? Who is this man? Surely if he wanted his mask back, he'd be around more, or at least somewhere to provide updates and push Link. And the biggest question of them all, how exactly did he come into possession of a mask this powerful? Well, the rabbit hole goes deep. I'm not saying I know something is up with him, but there is definitely something going on. He claims to be a very busy fellow, and he just so happens to know a way to change Link back. Pair this with his previously mentioned stalking of Link, and we've already got a curious case here. Link fell down a massive hole to find his way to Termina. He also knows that something bad will happen with his stolen mask, and he himself needs to leave in 3 days. Perhaps a backup plan for if all fails. Who knows? But it's how he gained possession of this mask that really begs big questions. Majora's Mask is clearly a very powerful artifact, and we don't know everything about its origins. What we do know is thanks to the Happy Mask Salesman telling us, and that's that it belonged to an ancient tribe and was used in hexing rituals. It's said that anyone who wears the mask is overpowered by its overwhelming evil power within. According to legend, the troubles this mask caused were so great that it was sealed away out of fear of something catastrophic happening. But in the current day and age, the tribe that used the mask no longer exists. It's all legend. What the salesman fails to tell us, however, is how he obtained the mask, where he learned all of this information, and also where he found the mask. He's left out a lot. He also claims to have travelled far and wide, collecting unique masks. Could far and wide be referring to something more than just distance? Perhaps time? There's some strong fan theories out there suggesting this, and whilst this is a lore-based video on the in-game facts, I do have to mention all the theories that suggest he's a time traveller. He has a series of masks, some of which are questionable as to how he obtained them, such as the Mirror Shield mask and the Mario face mask, potentially indicating a whole other universe within the Zelda universe, but there just isn't any answers. The rabbit hole behind him goes insanely deep, and there's so many awesome theories out there that go into him being a time traveller, a god, deity, or even evil and behind the whole story. I'll link some below for you to check out later, as they are honestly fascinating. He isn't just an ordinary salesman, but as far as the in-game lore goes, he remains a mystery, an enigma, and an iconic NPC. On the upper floor of the Stockpot Inn within Clocktown, we can discover a truly bizarre NPC. Well, an NPC might be a bit of a stretch, as this character is the mysterious Toilet Hand. It's a pale, slender arm reaching out in desperation for paper, begging anyone who passes by to give it. It has black fingernails and a rather unsettling aura around it. The mysterious hand of the toilet appears every night at midnight, staying until 6 in the morning. For 6 hours throughout the night, it begs and whines for paper. But who or what exactly is this? Why is there an arm reaching out of the toilet? Well, functionally in the game, the hand hides a piece of heart down the drains, which Link can obtain by bringing the hand anything made of paper, fulfilling its needs. But what about the in-game lore side of things? In the weird and wonderful universe of Zelda, what exactly is this? Well, according to series producer Shigeru Miyamoto, the hand is based on Japanese ghost stories, which, when someone sat down on the toilet, a hand would reach up from beneath, giving the forbidden tickle of the old pickle. Quite a grim fate to meet. So, simply put, the Stockpot Inn is home to a ghost hand, one who reaches out from the drains and begs for paper. A piece of Japanese folklore that created an infamous character that would appear in future games down the line.
Veering from the path to the southern swamp is Milk Road, which leads to Romani Ranch, famous for its vintage, tasty milk. Chateau Romani, the premier product of Clocktown's Milk Bar. Milk Road is a clever little play on the Silk Road, a series of trade routes which ran across Asia connecting the eastern and western worlds, named for the lucrative trade of silk produced mainly in China. Here, the Milk Road connects the ranch and its luxury milk to Clocktown and the Milk Bar. Link will be unable to access the ranch before the 3rd day, or without the powder keg, as a massive boulder blocks the path. It is speculated that the boulder was placed here by the ranch's rivals, the Gorman brothers, who may be the only two who think the rivalry exists. How these two goofballs maneuvered a giant boulder that takes days of constant work or heavy munitions to get rid of into this spot is a mystery so bizarre it's perfectly fitting for Majora's Mask. If Link arrives on the first day by blowing up the boulder, he will find Epona safely in a stall, and a young girl running around with her dog and her bow who bears the ranch's namesake, Romani. She is a playful, energetic child, endearingly blunt, often referring to herself in the 3rd person, and blissfully unaware of Termina's imminent fate. When she first meets Link, she says he's cute, nicknaming him Grasshopper after his green tunic and the way he patters when he walks. Romani and her older sister run the ranch, but Romani has dedicated herself to protecting it and the cows from the ominously named Them, who come at night around carnival time to steal the cows. After recruiting Link to her defense force, Romani teaches Link Epona's song, allowing Link and Epona to train their defenses together. Though also skilled with a bow, Romani remains in the barn the night of the invasion to protect the cows. If Link does not succeed, either through failing the quest or arriving too late, Romani is abducted with the cows, and future interactions reveal her to be disoriented and confused, all the youthful playfulness zapped from her, her memory erased perhaps by some sort of extraterrestrial lobotomy. However, if Link succeeds in defending the ranch, Romani rewards him with a bottle of Chateau Romani, calling him Little Hero. If he returns the next day, she'll ask Link to assist her again next year, before spontaneously inviting him to live at the ranch, lending him her bed, and saying her sister will be happy about this plan, too. Romani's sister Cremia is no stranger to these childish fancies. Having assumed the responsibilities of the ranch after their father's passing, Cremia still sees Romani as a little kid, much to her younger sister's annoyance. She will not allow Romani to drink the ranch's prized milk or attend the Carnival of Time, something she desperately wants, until she is an adult. Cremia also does not believe Romani's stories of strange beings abducting the cows. Her worry is further compounded, though, if the ghosts succeed, causing Cremia to be heartbroken over the loss of her cows, and more importantly, of her sister, who still remains at the ranch but in an unrecognizable malaise. However, if Link protects the ranch, Romani tells him to keep the events a secret, so as not to add to her older sister's list of worries. Cremia is close friends with Anju and has a crush on Kafei, gossip told by Romani herself, with some believing Kafei disappeared to be with Cremia. He apparently has a thing for redheads. Despite her overprotection, Cremia is caring, dedicated, and hard-working, constantly managing the ranch to provide for her and her sister, even though the ranch is facing many problems. Not just from cow abducting ghosts, but from the underhanded and devious sabotage of the Gorman brothers, a fact to which Cremia is oblivious. The Gorman brothers can be found near the Milk Road at a horse racing spot called the Gorman Track. If Link does not have a horse, the brothers are rude and dismissive, doubling down on their maliciousness by suggesting Link steal a horse from Romani Ranch, because the owners probably wouldn't notice anyway. If Link arrives with Epona, the brothers make fun of the size of his horse, arrogantly challenging him to a race, one they're confident they will win. When inevitably they lose, they give Link the Garo mask in exchange for his silence on where he got it. How the Gorman brothers came into possession of such a mask in the first place is a mystery unto itself. They also sell their own brand of milk for 50 rupees a bottle, claiming it to be a superior product, fresh and full of vitamins, while Chateau Romani is watered down and not worth drinking, though ironically, the opposite is true. Just another in a long list of crimes the brothers have perpetrated against Romani Ranch. Speaking of, with the ranch saved from the ghosts, Cremia will invite Link to accompany her on a milk delivery on the night of the second day, to keep her company and abate her loneliness. During the delivery, Milk Road is blocked, foiled again by the Gorman brothers, and Cremia is forced to take an alternate path through the Gorman Track. Here the brothers, donned in Goro masks and Goro Master masks in the 3D remake, ambush the wagon, intent on stealing the milk supply. If Link does not defeat them, the Gorman brothers will take over the milk business. But with the wagon defended and the Gorman brothers defeated, Cremia will acknowledge Link as an adult and reward him with the Romani mask, which will grant him access into the milk bar, where he eventually obtains the Troop Leader's mask, which prevents the Gorman brothers from attacking if the delivery quest is done in future cycles. With their business officially in ruins, the Gorman brothers will not appear on the final day, and all horse riding lessons will have been suspended. If the quest is completed again, there is a 50-50 chance Link will receive a gold rupee or one of the best, rarest rewards in any Zelda game, an affectionate hug. Fun fact, this was not originally planned. To quote Majora's Mask's co-director Yoshiaki Koizumi, that was born out of a mistake. When we were setting up Link's position, we put him too close, so his face got lodged into Cremia. When we saw that, we immediately wrote up a way to include it in the game. The script director and I thought this would be any boy's dream. On the final day, some of the citizens of Clocktown take refuge at Romani Ranch, a kindness not extended by the Gorman brothers. In a moment of pessimism, Cremia comments on Termina's fate, stating there are some things in life that you can't change no matter how hard you try, a perspective which Majora's Mask as a game ultimately denies. As such, with the fate of Termina all but sealed, Cremia gives Romani permission to drink Chateau Romani, something that both excites and confuses her, as she's unaware that this small concession by Cremia is meant as a comfort before their inevitable doom. Cremia also promises to make Romani a mask as a symbol of her adulthood, and as the moon falls, they share Cremia's bed. During the game's ending sequence, we see Cremia and Romani again, bright, lively, the older sister cheering on the archery skills of the younger, and Cremia is later seen again witnessing Kafei and Anju's wedding. Meanwhile, the Gorman brothers have learned nothing, unless Link shows up wearing the Troop Leader's mask, which makes them overly emotional, sentimental, and uncomfortable. The mask reminds them of their middle brother, Gorman. Yes, there are 3 brothers, 2 called the Gorman brothers and 1 called Gorman, who was no good at handling horses, so he left the ranch to make it in the world of show business, after hearing the hit song Ballad of the Windfish by a band called the Indigo-Gos.
Deep into the Woodfall region, we can find a unique kingdom within these dense lands. This is the Deku Kingdom, home of the Deku Scrubs and their leader, the Deku King, along with his daughter, the Deku Princess. These are the 2 key figures in this kingdom within Termina. There's also the Deku Butler, who's worth mentioning, a loyal servant of the king who is outstandingly polite and works to the highest of standards. However, the lore of these characters and their lives isn't as whimsical and magical as it may seem. The Deku King is a rash leader. He overreacts and blasts out wild decisions without much thought. The princess has been kidnapped. A swamp has become filled with poisonous water, and the king does nothing but blame a monkey for the disappearance of his daughter. The Deku Kingdom is run on the fear of their leader and his hot-headed decisions. We see through the story of the game that the previously mentioned monkey was actually trying to help the Deku princess reach the Woodfall Temple in search of answers to the mysterious poison. The harsh king imprisoned the monkey, enraged at the monkey for a crime only he genuinely believed was committed by the innocent creature. The king had the monkey punished in the throne room for all to see, a statement move by the Deku King. The monkey wouldn't be granted its rightful freedom until after Link clears through the Woodfall Temple and rescues the Deku princess, who, in contrast to her father's heart, is broken when she finds out what he did to the poor monkey. She demands that it be set free, full of rage towards her father. She admits that she feared her father would go as far to have the monkey executed, for a crime it simply never commit. This sums up how tense life in the Deku Kingdom really is for these characters, and this will extend to all of the other Dekus living in the kingdom. It looks like a magical, miniature kingdom deep within the woods, but in reality it's run by a hot-headed king who does as he pleases. Following the monkey's release, the kind Deku princess thanks Link for his efforts, and rewards him by showing him the way to the Deku Shrine. That's pretty much the life of Deku royalty, but how about what goes on in the life of the butler? Well, he lives a life of hardship. Despite staying at the utmost highest levels of professionalism for his service to the Deku royal family, he has a burden to bear. Not long before the events of the game, his son left without a trace, a mystery, vanished and unheard from in a wee while now. A sad story with an even sadder ending. Throughout the entirety of the game, this remains a mystery, but during the game's ending credits, we can see the Deku butler wailing around a twisted tree, hollow and devoid of life. It seems the Skull Kid got to the Deku butler's son during the rampage of the mask controlling him. It's believed that the spirit of the Deku butler's son was the very same used to curse Link into Deku Scrub form. A poetically haunting story that will always sit with you after playing Majora's Mask. In the harsh north of Termina, we can find the Snowhead region, a bitterly cold mountain range currently going through a freezing snowstorm. The home of the Gorons has become frozen over. Paths up and down the mountain range have become blocked or hazardous. These recent conditions even led to the Goron hero, Darmani the Third, to tragically lose his life. This heroic Goron was considered the greatest warrior of his people, a possible next heir to the throne and leader of the Gorons. He set off towards the Snowhead Temple to investigate where the brutal snowstorm was coming from. On his way up the narrow pathways, with deep drops on either side, the Goron hero was knocked off balance by the extremely powerful winds and fell to his demise. He was alone and on a mission, but in just a matter of sheer moments, his life fell away from him. In life, he was genuinely viewed as the hero of his people, a god amongst Gorons. He was big and strong, likely solved many problems around the city and mountain range in general. His passing is a huge loss for the Goron people. Link first meets Darmani the Third in his spiritual afterlife, a floating ghost only visible through the lens of truth. He leads Link to his grave in the Goron graveyard high above the mountain village, and it's here that Link can speak with the fallen Goron hero. He explains to Link what happened, and that he's full of regret for taking on such a bold mission, but also that he feels as though he failed his people. He was their shining light and hope to look up to, but he didn't succeed on this occasion. The amount of weight that must have been on his shoulders was immense. Some interesting details about Darmani the Third is that he was tatted up. I didn't know he was chill like that. These were possibly a symbol of who he was to the Goron people, further instating his significance in their life. Another detail of note is the large scar that can be seen across his body. It's quite possible that this is an injury from the fall that took his life. After talking with Link for a little while and begging for him to find a way to heal his sorrows and his broken heart, Link plays the Song of Healing for Darmani the Third, and this allows the Goron hero's soul to be at rest, moving on from his regrets and feelings of failure, transferring his soul into the Goron mask, which Link takes in order to take on the Snowhead Temple. During Link's time using the Goron mask in the Snowhead region, he takes on the look of Darmani the Third, which causes some confusion with other Gorons, most notably the Goron Elder, who currently acts as the tribal patriarch of the Gorons. He recently left the village to do the same thing as Darmani the Third, find answers to the unbearable storm. The Elder becomes stuck, frozen in the cold and unable to move. Meanwhile, his son is back in the village, doing everyone's head in by crying non-stop all day and night. He misses his dad, who is currently frozen without help, and it takes Link melting him with hot spring water to free him. However, in Link's Goron form, the Elder believes he has seen an illusion of Darmani the Third and refuses to come back to the village. Though, he does teach Link the Goron lullaby in order to soothe his son to sleep. A similar confusion to Darmani the Third is made after Link defeats Got, clearing the Snowhead Temple. The Goron Elder offers Goron Link, who he once again believes to be Darmani the Third, the position of the tribal patriarch, further instating how important the Goron hero was to his people. It's a shame we never got to see Darmani the Third in the flesh, as he sounds like a true Goron icon. He will not be forgotten though, or remembered as a failure. The Goron people love and adore him, in life and afterlife.
If Link enters the mayor's residence on the first day, he can stumble into a conversation between Gorman, Madame Aroma, and Toto, a rotund Zora and manager of the all-Zora band, the Indigo-Gos. Fun fact, Toto is apparently a name children call fish in Japan. Here it is first revealed that Lulu, the lead singer of the Indigo-Gos, has lost her voice. And because of this, Toto was forced to cancel their planned performance on the day of the Carnival of Time, much to Gorman's dismay. When not at the mayor's, Toto hangs around the milk bar. If Link finds him here, he'll ask Link for assistance doing a sound check. Toto teaches Link the Ballad of the Windfish, the same song sung by Marin in Link's Awakening, which eventually, spoilers, is used to awaken the Windfish, and made famous in Termina by the Indigo-Gos' original lineup, which included Lulu's mother, also named Lulu, and is now sung by the current lineup, which includes Lulu, Evan, Japis, Tijo, and Lulu's maybe boyfriend, guitarist Mikau. When Link eventually hops the barricades to the west and arrives at the Great Bay coast, a flock of seagulls fly circles around a lifeless Zora floating on the water's surface. After dragging the Zora to shore, he stumbles and falls before revealing himself to be Mikau, guitarist and Zoran hero. Then, with his final though strangely energetic breath, Mikau details how he ended up face down in the bay. Lulu lost her voice after laying eggs, which were stolen by Gerudo pirates while simultaneously, a strange storm engulfed the Great Bay Temple. Mikau, perhaps because he's their father, and in an effort to restore Lulu's voice, went to reclaim the eggs from the pirates where he was mortally wounded. Mikau asks Link to save Lulu's eggs and his soul before dropping dead on the sandy beach. What a consummate performer. Playing the Song of Healing leads to a vision of Mikau and Lulu joining the rest of the Indigo-Gos. Link then obtains the Zora mask and gains the power of the Zoran hero Mikau, whose spirit plays on until Link marks Mikau's resting place with his guitar on the beach. Upon entering Zora Hall, Link can navigate to Mikau and Tijo's room, where donning the Zora mask, Link can interact with Tijo. He drums the cave theme from A Link to the Past, who details a lot of gossip but can't quite put all the pieces together. Link can then hookshot up to read Mikau's diary. In it, we learn of Mikau's jam sessions with Japis, bass player of the Indigo-Gos, Mikau's feelings about Lulu, and Evan, the band's leader, pianist, and main songwriter's annoyance at those two writing songs together. We also find that Evan had something urgent to tell Mikau regarding Lulu and that his lucky color of the week is green. Quite auspicious as he ends up wearing a tunic of the same color. Talking to Japaz, who was playing the original Zelda's dungeon theme, reveals his concerns about the band's rehearsal, while also triggering an impromptu jam session, which draws the attention of many other Zora outside the door. In Evan's room, he is sitting at his piano, playing the original Zelda's Game Over or Ending theme, and reiterates what Mikau told Link on the beach with a few extra details. Having lost her voice because of her eggs, Lulu reaches out to Evan, who suggests she take them to the Marine Research Lab. When the eggs are stolen, Evan then entrusts Mikau with retrieving them, because Mikau shares the blood of the Zoran heroes. He does not tell the other band members of Lulu's condition so as not to spoil their excitement for their upcoming big show, although Toto cancels it regardless. At Cape Zora outside the hall, Link encounters Lulu staring at the ocean, despondent and dejected. When Link eventually returns all the Zora eggs to the Marine Research Lab, they form the notes of a song, the New Wave Bossa Nova, a song Lulu's mother sang for her in childhood that when played returns her voice, summons a turtle, and opens the path to the Great Bay Temple. Once Georg is defeated, Link in Zora form can join the band in Zora Hall's Great Clamshell for a rehearsal song. Funnily enough, many outdoor theaters and music venues are designed as shells. Coral shells, another seaworthy pun, and acoustic shells, because their shape, like a big clamshell, directs sound toward the audience. Anyway, if prior to the rehearsal Link plays the jam session song to Evan as a Hylian, Evan will grant him a piece of heart and play the song during the band's rehearsal and their performance at the Carnival of Time. During the end credits, the full band, along with Zora Link, are seen performing the longer version of the rehearsal song in the milk bar.
In the haunting valleys of Ikana, surrounded by the remains of a past civilization, deep in the home of the undead and unknown, we find a uniquely designed house. Inside, we find Pamela and her father. However, these two require some backstory. Why are they living so isolated in what could be considered extremely dangerous land? Ikana is swarming with Gibdo, Gero, and other threats. Well, they didn't always stay here. Pamela and her dad were originally from Clocktown, in the safety of the walls and guarded entrances. The pair swapped this lifestyle for Ikana Valley, as Pamela's father is a scientist who researches the supernatural. They moved out here so he could research the Gibdo in the area, bringing wee Pamela along for the adventure. Living out here, Pamela grew to be a mature and alert person. You have to survive in these lands. Her dad lives in Dreamland. The unique house they live in was originally just a normal home, but they later renovated it into this music box, as during her father's research, he created/discovered a song called Farewell to Gibdos, which when played got rid of any Gibdo nearby. This allowed for their life to be a little more safe up here in Ikana. Until one fateful day. Her dad went to the nearby well and was cursed. A terrible fate to be met with. It slowly turned him into a Gibdo himself, to the extent where other Gibdo believed he was one of them. In fear, Pamela locked her father in the closet downstairs, protecting herself and her dad. Shortly after this, things got worse. Just as Pamela would have been trying to think of what to do next and overcome her fear, the nearby river stopped flowing, which cut off the power to the music repelling all the Gibdo. This forced Pamela to stay inside with the doors locked. After not long at all, Gibdo surrounded the home, searching for their part Gibdo friend, Pamela's father. After all of this has gone down, Link arrives in Ikana and meets Pamela, though she doesn't let the hero inside due to fear, believing he is just another Gibdo, an enemy trying to get inside. In order to talk face to face with Pamela, he must first discover the cause of the river drying up, which turned out to be another curse which just seems to be a theme in these lands. Once the water flow is returned, the music begins to play again, and the Gibdo surrounding the house leaves. Pamela is still quite wary of Link at this point. If he comes too close, she'll run back inside. The hero needs to distract her to get her outside, allowing him to get inside. Once inside, he's against the clock as Pamela will return inside shortly. Once in, Link can head downstairs and discover the horrifying situation. Pamela's dad is discovered to be inside this closet. He's a mess of a part Gibdo, part man. Battle music begins to play, and the Gibdo man begins to approach Link. However, instead of fighting him, Link must use music to break the curse. If the Song of Healing is played, Pamela's father will be restored back to his full Termina form. He's confused and unsure of what's been going on. A very emotional Pamela returns and runs in to hug her dad, someone she's not seen in a long time, crying to him that it was just a bad dream, when in reality, young Pamela had to live with the burden of her father's curse at such a young age, and in such a harsh environment, trapped inside, surrounded by Gibdo. But in the end, Link saved her father, and the pair of them are able to resume living life safely and with each other by their side. As a result of Link saving the man, he gained the Gibdo mask, and now the ability to actually speak to Pamela and her dad in a more relaxed setting. Pamela might insist on Link not speaking to him too much though, just in case he ends up wanting to do research with the hero and his unique abilities. But we can learn that her father is very knowledgeable in his field. He knows the ins and outs of Gibdo nature, as well as a fair amount about the Gero, who can also be seen in these lands. He even mentions that there's been rumoured sightings of the Gero as far out as Romani Ranch. However, those sightings may have just been the Gorman brothers, who wear Gero masks during their raids. He's a very smart man and curious by nature, dedicated to his work. Pamela seems to be happy enough living out here with her dad, and by the end credits of the game, we can see the pair still living out here, standing outside their unique home.
To the east of Clocktown lies Ikana Canyon, a barren wasteland soaked in the bloody history of war. Its undead inhabitants cursed to endlessly suffer in the realm of the living. Among the undead is Igos du Ikana, the king of this haunted kingdom and leader of its royal family. Proud and mighty, Igos du Ikana and his military were forced to defend their kingdom in what is known as the Great War of Ikana, a violent conflict between Ikana and what is simply referred to as an enemy nation, who sent the Garo to spy on Igos' kingdom. Under the king's command, Captain Kita, or Skull Kita as he is sometimes known, led the royal army against the enemy nation, but he and his army were ultimately defeated, sealing the fate of Ikana. Either as a result of a similar defeat or merely natural causes, Igos du Ikana died, fading into obscurity, and his kingdom and its inhabitants with him. Some unknown time after this, owing to the Skull Kid's mischief, though this is debated, the Stone Tower Temple was opened. Emanating from the temple was a curse which reanimated Captain Kita, his army, and Igos du Ikana, as well as the enemy nation's spies, the shadowy Garo, reigniting the age-long war between the two kingdoms even beyond death. When Link finally enters the canyon and makes his way to the Ikana graveyard, he finds Captain Kita, now a giant stall child, lying dormant under a bridge. By playing the Sonata of Awakening, Link awakens the undead captain, who smashes the bridge and shuffles away. Once in pursuit, Link can defeat members of the Stall army, halt the captain with arrows, withstand his flailing attacks and ground pounds, and after enough sword strikes, elicit Kita's surrender. Now looking eye to eye, Captain Kita will tell Link his history as a general, of his loss in battle, and of his unrest, waiting for one to come awaken his soul. Sensing great power from the swordsman who awakened and defeated him, Captain Kita requests Link to convey a message to his soldiers, who have remained loyal even under the effects of the curse. He asks that Link tell them that the war is over. And then, in a moment of great respect from a general who has witnessed the brutal effects of war to the boy who saved the past by saving the future, Captain Kida asks to take his leave. Link returns his salute, honoring the request, and Captain Kida shatters into nothingness. Following this poignant moment, Link crosses the gap in the bridge and opens the chest to obtain the captain's hat, which bears a resemblance to Captain Kida himself. Described as a symbol of authority to which the ghosts of 100 soldiers swear allegiance, the captain's hat grants Link the power of Kida's authority, allowing him to command the Stall Children. Link then obtains the Mirror Shield and, following the advice of the Poe composer Flat, who tells of the king awaiting the coming of the one who will break the curse, Link infiltrates the ancient castle of Ikana, which is still overrun with invisible Garo assassins, to confront the undead king. Within the shadows of the throne room, Link finally encounters Igos du Ikana, king of nothing but dust and bone and ruin. Lowering the castle's drapes and speaking of the power of darkness, Igos du Ikana commands 2 of his stalwart soldiers to attack Link. By destroying the drapes and using the power of the sun's light, Link defeats the 2 foot soldiers, while the king joins the battle to do what they could not. During the battle, the king spits poison breath and disconnects his head, turning the rest of his body transparent while he tries to chomp on Link's skull. If Link wears the captain's hat during this battle, the king will mistake him for Captain Kida, before realizing Link is too small, and the battle resumes. However, upon defeat, Igos du Ikana's disembodied head chastises his servants, realizing the error of his ways and the corrosive, ruinous power of unending battles. The king then speaks of believing in your friends, of forgiving failure, and how the light of those feelings was blotted out by the black curse that came from opening the Stone Tower Temple, a curse which Link and, as the king puts it, the light he carries can vanquish. The king then grants Link the power to enter Stone Tower Temple, an impenetrable stronghold, which hundreds of his soldiers could not topple, by teaching him the Elegy of Emptiness, a song that allows Link to shed a shell of his current self, and rather creepy ones at that. Utilizing the Elegy of Emptiness, Link navigates to the top of the looming stone tower, enters the temple, and eventually encounters the Garo Master, an assassin of the Garo tribe, donning a purple robe, metallic mask, flaming twin swords, and an uncanny knowledge of the inner workings of the Stone Tower Temple. The Garo Master is larger, more agile, and more powerful than the Garo robes that stalk Ikana Canyon and the ancient castle, and must be stunned with the hookshot or Deku Nuts before being attacked with a sword. Interestingly, when the battle begins, the Garo Master drops down from a hole in the ceiling, which is the same hole Link jumps into to fight Twin Mold when the tower is inverted. Speaking of inverted, once defeated, the Garo Master, who guards the chest containing the light arrows, praises Link's skill and tells him how to invert the temple. After divulging this information, the Garo Master dies without leaving a corpse, by pulling out a bomb and vaporizing in the detonation, as is the way of the Garo. The Garo Master can be fought again in the Twin Mold Moonchild's dungeon and in the secret shrine behind the waterfall in Ikana Canyon. It is not clear if these are meant to be additional Garo Masters or reiterations of the same master. As such, it is also uncertain whether the Garo Master is called Master because of his skill or because he is actually the leader of the Garo tribe. In the 3DS remake, the Garo mask was updated to resemble the Garo Master.
One of Termina's most iconic faces is a man who dresses up as a green fairy. His name is Tingle, and he can be found all over the land selling maps. That's his occupation, making maps for the local areas you find him in, and selling them for a supposedly good price. Tingle is an odd character, but someone I love. He's living his best life dressed up as a fairy. He has a job, works hard in said job, and is 35 years old, so he can do what he likes. However, his dad, the man who runs the Swamp Tourist Center, is not so happy with his son's behavior. Tingle claims to be a reincarnated Kokiri, even calling himself a forest fairy. He's even looking for his own fairy, but with no luck so far. In order to find Tingle, you must spot him in the air, as he takes to the skies via balloon to scope out the area and make his maps. Link must burst his balloon to talk with the self-proclaimed forest fairy, where he'll get one of Tingle's many lovely introductions. Whilst Tingle might seem like a bit of a clown, he's not dull by any means. For example, he can recognise Link even in his other forms. He spots Tattle by the hero's side, identifying him. A photo of Tingle is also eligible to win the Swamp Pictograph contest, which is run by Tingle's dad. I mean, it sounds like a fixed competition to me, but regardless, Tingle can win it for you. There's not much more to Tingle in this game, but this was his first appearance in the series, the beginnings of an iconic character who we'd meet in future adventures. As the moon draws closer to ending the lives of the people of Termina, a young couple from Clocktown have their wedding planned on the day of the Carnival of Time, a tradition for those getting married in Termina, the same day that the moon is due to crash down. This is Kafei and Anju, two characters involved in one of the best side quests in the Zelda series. Their unique story has several potential outcomes depending on what Link does or doesn't do on certain days at certain times. The Kafei and Anju storyline revolves around specific timed events spanning over all 3 days of the in-game cycle. Recently, the groom Kafei has been reported missing, just days out from the wedding. Nobody has heard from him or knows of his whereabouts. To many, it seems like he got cold feet and backed out silently. When Link first enters Clocktown, he can spot a young man wearing a Keaton mask, posting a letter, before quickly retreating back to the laundry pool for a door that Link cannot enter. If the hero talks to Madame Aroma on either the first or second day, who is also Kafei's mother, she'll give Link the Kafei mask to help him seek information on her son. Everyone in Clocktown has varied answers on the matter. Some are more helpful and positive, whilst others believe Kafei got cold feet and backed out. At the Stockpot Inn over in Eastern Clocktown, we can find the bride-to-be. Anju works the reception here, and at 2 PM on the first day, we can witness an interaction between her and the postman. He delivers the letter from that mysterious boy we saw earlier, only the letter is anonymous. Despite Anju begging the postman to tell her which postbox it was collected from, he cannot tell her. After the postman leaves, anytime from then until around 9 PM, Link can speak to Anju wearing the Kafei mask, and this results in Anju asking Link to meet with her later on. During this evening, Link is able to obtain a letter addressed to Kafei, and Anju requests that he posts it for her, desperate to meet in person with her beloved Kafei. The interesting thing with this whole quest is that there's so many variables that can alter and even halt the entire storyline, resulting in Link needing to reset the day cycle and start all over again. For example, if Link uses the letter as paper to give to the toilet hand inside the Stockpot Inn, he loses that item and halts the storyline. This is just one of many examples. On the second day after Link posts the letter, the postman eventually collects it and delivers it to the young boy Link saw on the first day. Link can use this opportunity to get inside the building he wasn't able to previously, following the boy to question him. It's here that Link actually learns that this is Kafei, but he's just a boy. Well, it turns out that he hasn't always appeared this way. Kafei was actually more than excited to marry Anju. We can even read in his diary about how much he was looking forward to it, but not long before the events of the game take place, he fell victim to the Skull Kid. Under the influence of Majora's mask, he cursed Kafei, giving him the physical appearance of a child. This is why he wears the Keaton mask. He's embarrassed and humiliated just days before his wedding, unable to bring himself to speak to Anju out of fear for what she'll think of his new look. The anxiety and suffering Kafei was going through was immense at this time, and to make matters worse, he had his ceremonial sun mask stolen from him by Sakon, which he had promised Anju he'd bring, another reason he refuses to come out of hiding until he's got it back. This mask almost acts as an engagement ring, as Anju also has one to bring. Kafei gives Link the Pendant of Memories to give to Anju. On this same second day, Anju can actually be seen sitting around the laundry pool earlier in the day before the postman makes his rounds. She's seen asking people passing by for information. She's even seen to be sobbing over the rumours going around as to Kafei's whereabouts. She's devastated and confused. There's no answer to where her husband-to-be has gone, and she can't seem to figure it all out. This was a dark time for her as well. And to add to it, on the same day later at night, Link can overhear a conversation between Anju and her mother. Her own mother boldly suggests that Kafei might have fled to Romani Ranch to be with her friend, Cremia, which is just not what Anju needed to hear. Confident in her man not abandoning her like that, she refuses to believe her mother. On the final day, a lot of different things can and do happen. During this day, Kafei sets off to Ikana to investigate the man who stole his sun mask. Link follows him there, and together they must both traverse through Sakon's hideout in order to retrieve the mask. However, by the time they've successfully done this, it's already the eve of the Carnival of Time, and Kafei begins to race back to Clocktown, whilst Link hurries behind. At the ripe old hour of 4:30 AM, Kafei and Anju finally reunite inside the Stockpot Inn, now with the sun mask back in possession, and the world at its potential end, the engaged couple have a warm embrace. Hugging each other closely before exchanging ceremonial masks as part of their promise to each other, Kafei gives Anju the sun's mask, and Anju gives Kafei the moon's mask, which together becomes the couple's mask. And they give it to Link as he becomes their official witness. However, it's a bittersweet reunion, as by the time they're back together after all of their suffering and stress throughout this whole situation, they're left with around 1 hour until the moon crashes down, which is something they seem to be aware of. Instead of letting fear overtake and ruin their moment, they take comfort in each other's presence and are just happy to be together again, finally reunited. In-game, Link must travel back in time in order to avoid a game over screen, which resets the questline's events. However, there is a happy ending to all of this. In the game's credits, we can see a wedding take place just outside of Clocktown. These credits take place in the events that Link prevents the moon from crashing by defeating Majora on the moon. This is, of course, Kafei and Anju's wedding, and whilst we don't visually see Kafei, it's believed that he managed to return to his adult form. From the point of view from who we can assume is Kafei, it seems to be around head height with Anju, suggesting he is once again at his normal height. As I've mentioned a few times, the Kafei and Anju questline has a ton of variables and different events that are crucial to getting things right. I've not covered every single detail, as it'd take quite a while itself and could honestly be its own video. I'd highly recommend checking out a video by Zeltic that covers their storyline specifically in great detail. They are two of Majora's Mask's most iconic NPCs, and without a doubt share one of the greatest side quests in the entire Zelda series, making them both so memorable. Before getting into our last two entries of the video, I'd like to highlight some honourable mentions that were originally planned to have their own entry, but were ultimately cut out because I either didn't feel there was enough of interest to do that, or because they were mentioned during other segments. So, I'd like to give an honourable mention to the following: Kotake and Koyumi, the Witches of Woodfall; Gabora and Zubora, the Mountain Smithies of Snowfall; Dampe, the Gravekeeper of Ikana; Flat and Sharp, the composer brothers of the long-dead Ikana Kingdom, and lastly, the Moon Children, the mysterious masked inhabitants of the moon. Throughout the story of Majora's Mask, following the completion of each of the dungeons, Link encounters the guardian deities of Termina, 4 giants who rest in the corners of the land: Woodfall, Snowhead, the Great Bay, and the Ikana Canyon. In legend, every year during the Carnival of Time, the people of Termina ask these 4 guardians to bring a rich and healthy harvest for the year ahead, wearing masks that resemble the legend of the giants to honor them. The lore of these characters is truly fascinating, and one of my newfound favourite parts of Majora's Mask that I've gained a new appreciation for whilst making this video. Link is told a tale of the 4 giants by Anju's grandmother. In a time before the events of the game takes place, the people of Termina lived in a single complete world. It was united and watched over with the 4 giants living amongst the people. During this time, the giants befriended an imp. However, there came a time where the giants began to stay dormant, protecting the people by splitting the land into 4 regions for each of them to watch over, taking 100 steps towards their regions and telling their people to call upon them should there be trouble in the land. However, the imp that had created a close bond with his recently departed friends was left hurt. He had fun with them and had a connection. In his hurt caused by misinterpretation and the feelings of neglect, he spread his anger throughout Termina, which led to the people pleading to the giants to deal with the imp. And they did. They gave the imp a choice: leave and return to the heavens, or be destroyed at the giant's power. The imp left the people of Termina alone, returning peace to the people. This tale mirrors the events that transpire in the present day. The Skull Kid. The imp creature has now befriended a couple of fairies, Tattle and Tail. However, after ambushing and stealing Majora's Mask from the Happy Mask Salesman, under the influence of Majora's unbearable power, the Skull Kid began to cause chaos. He ambushes Link and steals his ocarina, turning the Hylian into a Deku scrub. He begins to pull the moon in, setting it to crash into Clocktown and destroy all of Termina. He also cursed the 4 corners of the land, blocking out the giants from interfering and saving the land, which is why throughout the story Link must free each of the 4 regions. The Skull Kid is also responsible for the harming of the Great Fairies, turning Kafei into a child, and even telling the Gerudo pirates about the Zora eggs. He caused a lot of harm. On the final day, after clearing all 4 dungeons and having freed the 4 giants of the land, Link confronts the Skull Kid atop the clock tower. After playing the Oath to Order, the song which summons the giants, they come in swiftly and prevent the moon from falling, putting a wrench in the Skull Kid's plan. In the process, the Skull Kid is knocked down and unconscious. Majora's Mask, however, has gained enough strength to take off on its own, and leaves the Skull Kid and heads for the moon to possess that instead, and overpower the giant's hold on it. Link must chase the mask down and face Majora on the moon before it drags the moon down. The truth behind the Skull Kid in this game is that it wasn't really him doing all of this. Majora's Mask simply overpowered the imp without much struggle, and used the Skull Kid as its puppet to perform its evil intentions. The Skull Kid became a victim. It would take Link's efforts in freeing the giants of each corner and taking on Majora's wrath on the moon to return Termina to peace, freeing the Skull Kid and returning Majora's Mask to the Happy Mask Salesman. In the moments after Link's triumph over Majora, the moon vanishes, and the people of Termina celebrate this historic day. Just outside of Termina waits the Skull Kid, who, alongside Tattle, Tail, Link, and the Happy Mask Salesman, has a moment. Shaken with emotion, he looks to the giants before they depart back to their corners of solitude and protection. He asks if the giants still thought of him as a friend. He's emotional, realizing what he's done, despite the fact it wasn't really him. He then has a moment with Link. wondering if he is the one who saved him and if they could be friends. Interestingly, stating that Link smells like the fairy boy who taught him a song in the Lost Woods. This is all before the Happy Mask Salesman takes his leave, followed by Link setting off as well, resuming his original quest to find Navi. The Skull Kid remains here in Termina Field with his two fairy companions, Tattle and Tail. All he ever wanted was friends to play with. He was misunderstood and influenced by an evil being that nobody would have been able to fight, but it's damaged his reputation. At the very end of the game's credits, we see Link riding off into the woods, which is followed by a closing shot of a picture carved into a tree stump. It depicts the Skull Kid playing alongside Link and the fairies, which is a sweet ending to a bitter story that painted him as the ultimate villain. The Skull Kid's story throughout is a tale of grief, misery, loss, anger, fear, and everything that Majora's Mask embodies. This game is full of emotions, and no one embodies that more than the Skull Kid and what he went through. The Skull Kid is in many ways the face of evil, when in reality, that face was not his. Thank you so much for watching, folks. I really hope you've enjoyed this massive NPC lore video on Majora's Mask. This was a massive project, probably one of my biggest, and it took a lot of time and effort to create. So if you did enjoy, I'd really appreciate it if you consider subscribing to the channel for lots more fabulous Zelda content from myself. Oh, and drop a cheeky wee like down below while you're at it. I'd really appreciate it. I'm really interested to hear who your favourite NPCs are from Majora's Mask and why, as well as any that I've maybe not included that you feel should have been included. Leave your comments down below and I'll see you all down there. Now of course I can't take all the credit on this video as I was joined by the amazing Little Bean Green, and I just want to say a massive thank you to him for joining me on this one.
A big thank you to Hyrule Gamer for including me in this collaboration. Majora's Mask is probably my favorite Zelda game, and to be able to dive deep into the lore of these characters and to learn some things I didn't know was a lot of fun. If you'd like to see more from me, find me on YouTube at Little Bean Green, and if you're really interested, consider joining our fledgling Discord. See you soon.
His channel can be found down below in the description or on the card on screen. He makes excellent videos and is a very exciting Zelda creator to be following right now. I personally recommend this video on Ocarina of Time or his video on Marin in Link's Awakening. Beans are good for you, so go check him out. As always, a massive thank you goes to all of my channel supporters across both Patreon and YouTube, with a very special mention going to new supporter on YouTube, Jesus Pinto. Thank you very much for your support. Across both YouTube memberships and Patreon, these lovely folks on screen right now have decided to financially back my work here on YouTube. This helps to make videos like this one all the more possible. If you'd be interested in joining them and becoming an official channel supporter, as well as gaining some cool perks, then check out the supporting links down in the description. Also down there are links to all of my socials and Discord server, where you're more than free to follow me and join the server to keep up to date. Thanks again for watching, folks. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day or night. And until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.